I wanted to get out the way was Mr. YNW Melly, and his murder case. Now, if you guys don't know, YNW Melly is facing a double murder uh, on trial for it since 2019. Excuse me. They're saying he killed his friends in a vehicle. I think it was about 4 or 5 of them that he had killed in a vehicle. And there's not too much documented information. Well, there of course is legal documents that are online, um, but there isn't too much on the recent news that we got, um, which is he got the death penalty dropped. So the death penalty was dropped from the case 2 days ago, and that's actually a big W for the lawyers in the YNW Melly case, that the death penalty was dropped. That was the big news that was going around when his arrest was even made, that they were going to issue him the death penalty because of him having such a disturbing song called "Murder on My Mind," where he's basically describing him killing his friends. So it's crazy, and the reason why I want to do this is because we're also going to talk about another case in which lyrics play a huge factor in it. But yes, YNW Melly's lyrics played a huge factor in his actual murder case. And another thing that plays a huge factor in a murder case, because we're not gonna stay on this too long, but interesting gentleman by the name of Mo Gangat was on Vlad TV recently, and he said something very interesting that I think everyone should hear.
The police officer is not a forensic scientist. He's not a ballistics expert, right? But he's the guy who is in part, maybe there'll be other people that the prosecution puts on, but they're going to put this police officer on, and they're going to say that this police officer investigated the crime scene, and based on this police officer's training and his observations of blood spatter, his use of essentially plastic rods, where he takes these plastic rods and he looks at bullet holes and entrance wounds, and then he inserts them at different heights and different angles, and then he's able to reconstruct the angle of the bullet. Let's go back to what you brought up with this police officer. This is very interesting. The police officer is not a forensic scientist. He's not a ballistics expert, right? But he's the guy who is in part, maybe there'll be other people that the prosecution puts on, but they're going to put this police officer on, and they're going to say that this police officer investigated the crime scene, and based on this police officer's training and his observations of blood spatter, his use of essentially plastic rods, where he takes these plastic rods and he looks at bullet holes and entrance wounds, and then he inserts them at different heights and different angles, and then he's able to reconstruct the angle of the bullets and where somebody was sitting and where blood splatter went. Okay, if you're a little confused by everything that I'm talking about, think for a second that you're a member of the jury and you're being told what's happening by a police officer. Now, on the other side, the defense is going to put up a forensic expert, somebody who has a degree in ballistics, a degree in God knows what else. They're going to put up multiple experts, and this case is going to come down to a battle of the experts. And so on the one hand, the defense was trying to get the police officer thrown out using a legal theory called basically the Daubert test. And what the Daubert test asks, it's a Supreme Court case, it asks this person who's going to testify and say what the angle of the bullet was and where the shooter was, is that guy qualified to talk about that kind of stuff? Does he have a degree? Does he have training? Is he applying a science that can be tested and repeated? Or is he just shooting off at the mouth with his own personal thoughts and opinions? So the defense had challenged the police officer saying that this guy doesn't have the requisite trainings. The judge said, no, I'm going to let him go in. He takes classes on the weekends. He has other people that he talks to. I'm going to let him testify about this. So in theory, the defense lost the Daubert motion, but this is very common, Vlad. A lot of times.
So here's the thing, right? Y'all heard it. The guy that was even doing the forensics investigation wasn't necessarily qualified to even make his theories. You know what I mean? So that plays a huge part in the case already. So the jury and the judge is already skeptical on this. The judge is saying, okay, yeah, let him present his case for the plaintiff's sake. Let him present his case, right? So that we do have an actual case. And with that fit, with the what the cop was saying, with that motion failing, because of that lack of experience, this actually gives YNW Melly's defense team a huge advantage, because being that the other guy doesn't even have the correct, experience, he doesn't have the actual long-term experience that the defense team has as far as forensics goes. That's going to play a huge part in court. As you just heard, it's going to be a battle of the experts. Reason why is because the defense team is going to more than likely be able to prove that YNW Melly didn't do anything. They're already saying that there was no trace of any type of blood on him. There was no, what you call it, gun residue on YNW Melly. There was a lot of things that was missing as far as evidence from the case. There's only conspiracy that he committed this double murder. There's no actual evidence of this. They're still trying to find out who the actual shooter was. They're pinning it on YNW Melly, but it's only because of the song. It's only because of the song and the conspiracy of the lyrics. So that is a big W for YNW Melly. Getting the death penalty job, because I don't ever want to see nobody die, of course. You don't want to see, especially if you didn't actually do it. You know what I mean? But yeah, man. I do hope the kid comes home, and I hope he comes home on a positive note. And whatever traumas he had, whatever mental issues he might have had prior to this trial and case, I hope he is therapeutically healed himself, or gets some type of therapy to heal himself. Moving